Sup, you beautiful bastards. Hope you're having a fantastic Wednesday. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show, and let's just jump into it. And the first thing I want to talk about today, one of the most requested stories today, and that is the craziness around Gal Gadot. Gal has been getting a ton of praise since Wonder Woman came out. Not only is the movie good, but she's amazing in it. There's mainly only been praise around this situation, but then a story came out yesterday. A story with the headline, Superman got paid more than Wonder Woman. Gal Gadot earned $300,000 for Wonder Woman. Want to guess how much Henry Cavill got for Man of Steel? And in the article, it says Henry got $14 million. And a lot of places like Business Insider and Buzzfeed News covered this as well. And people were up in arms saying this is ridiculous. This is so representative of the gender wage gap in Hollywood. Lauren Duca tweeting, Gal Gadot made $300,000 for Wonder Woman as compared to Henry Cavill's $14 million for Man of Steel. The most compelling DC villain is the pay gap. And a ton of other people piled on, and there was this mass outrage, many people saying, well, how is the studio going to respond? Well, it appears they don't really have to respond because a lot of the outrage was based on a misunderstanding. The news came out that Elle.com could not confirm that $14 million figure. Then BuzzFeed, who initially had the headline, so Gal Gadot was reportedly only paid $300,000 for Wonder Woman, who then later changed their headline to, despite what you've heard, Gal Gadot was paid at least much as Henry Cavill for Wonder Woman. Despite what you heard, you were the one that told us. The title should be, Despite What We Said. Actually, an update to this story, they have now included from us in their title. Guess better late than never. But they do update the article saying, a source familiar with the situation told BuzzFeed News that Gadot was paid at least as much for Wonder Woman as Cavill was paid for Man of Steel, adding that Cavill had been paid nowhere near $14 million for Man of Steel. And a lot of people pointed out that when a lot of actors go into their first superhero movie, they don't get the crazy dollars that we hear about Robert Downey Jr. getting $200 million. Earlier reports and estimates had Robert Downey Jr. getting $500,000 for the first Iron Man, Chris Evans $300,000 for Captain America, Chris Hemsworth made $150,000 for Thor. In fact, while it's being reported that Cavill made six figures for Man of Steel, Amy Adams, who played Lois Lane, reportedly got seven figures. Also a big thing to keep in mind, a lot of the numbers that are being thrown around right now involve base salaries and not bonuses. And understand, what I'm doing here is pointing out how all these places were wrong because they were focusing on a narrative rather than really focusing on the facts. If you do look at the stats for the highest paid women in Hollywood, the highest paid men, you see that there is a difference in who gets what. You know, you look back to the 2014 email hack of Sony where people found out that for some reason Jennifer Lawrence made less than her male co-stars in American Hustle. This despite the fact that at the time she was the far biggest star in the movie. But ultimately you have all these places that have egg on their face. They were trying to argue a point with bad information. And you can be like Elle.com arguing in an update. If anything, Gal Gadot's salary is opening up the conversation about who gets paid what in Hollywood. You're not furthering your argument by using false points to prove that argument. Just saying focus on the facts before your narrative. And the question I want to pass off to you is, what is your takeaway from this? I have my opinion, but I always love to know yours. Do you think this is people putting narrative before facts, or it's just someone made a mistake? Also regarding pay between men and women, do you think that there is a problem or not? I mean that both for Hollywood and with your everyday Joes and Janes. But from that, I want to share some stuff I love today, and today in Awesome, brought to you by the That's Amazing shirt. For those of you that do not follow the behind the scenes vlog over at youtube.com/PhillyD, go subscribe. I've had an inside the community joke for the past month because my son would not stop saying, That's amazing! That's amazing! That's amazing! That's amazing! People wouldn't stop saying it. I said, sure, we'll put out a shirt if you guys, give us 50,000 likes on this one video. That channel normally gets like 12 to 15,000. There were 73,000 likes. So we've now officially launched the That's Amazing shirt, but it really wouldn't be amazing if it was just us throwing out a shirt. So I decided that 100% of the proceeds will go to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. You get an amazing shirt and the money helps amazing people trying to do very, very important things. Link to that down below. And the first bit of awesome, it's kind of self-promo awesome. If you are going to VidCon this weekend, here is my public schedule. Also not part of the public schedule, but for the people that are excited about podcasts coming back, I will be shooting 2 of them there. Yeah, if you're out there, I hope to see you. Then for the gamers out there that get excited for the Steam Summer Sale, the date has been revealed. Reportedly, it will start June 22nd at 1 p.m. Eastern. So get ready to buy so many games, and then if you're like me, only play like 15% of them. Not enough time anymore. Then those beautiful bastards over at the Screen Junkies did an honest trailer on the Power Rangers. It is Undava. Then we got a trailer for a movie I had not heard of before, and that is American Assassin. It's Michael Keaton, Dylan O'Brien. It looks awesome. And then we got a brand new trailer for Game of Thrones, and it is less than a month away, people. I am so excited. And finally, for my readers out there, specifically readers who have like a Kindle or some sort of e-reader. One, there's a thing called Project Gutenberg. They've turned 54,000 books whose copyright have already expired into freely downloadable ebooks. And while you can download those, a lot of them haven't been formatted fantastically. But now there's a volunteer project called Standard eBooks, and they're going in and they're fixing typesetting, making minor corrections, corrections in punctuation and grammar, adding covers, and enhancing metadata. And they've already done this to 100 of them, so if you want to go check it out, you want to download free books because you like to read, or you want to be a part of the project, you want to get involved, you want to help the cause, you can do that too. And if you want to see the full versions of everything I just shared, the secret link of the day, anything at all, links as always are in the description down below. And then let's talk about a story that involves one of my favorite things on this show, and that is free speech, the First Amendment. And the reason for that is on June 19th, the Supreme Court came down with an interesting decision. They struck down in an 8-0 vote part of a 1946 federal law barring trademarks that may disparage people or groups. And the reason for this is a rock band made up of Asian men called the Slants. And the band was having a hard time trademarking their name, the Slants, because it was deemed disparaging. That because the Slants is a racial slur. Now, for those wondering why Asian guys would name their band a racial slur towards Asians, Simon Tam says it's all about reappropriation, taking back the power.
Whenever you Googled slant or slants, the top hits all on Google for the first 4 pages were all to white supremacist websites. And now it's to a rock and roll band that proudly shares its heritage, and I think that is super cool.
And it really wasn't certain if things were going to go the band's way. The reason they got to the Supreme Court is because they had been turned down and denied everywhere else. And like I said, in a unanimous decision, the Supreme Court said that this is fine. Justice Samuel A. Alito Jr. is saying, "We have said time and time again," I love that it starts out like a parent just saying like, "Child, what have I told you?" But Alito says, "We have said time and time again that the public expression of ideas may not be prohibited merely because the ideas are themselves offensive to some of their hearers." So it looks like the Slants are not going to have any issues, but this also has a greater effect. And that's because the decision here, it's being argued that this can be connected to the Washington Redskins situation. The Washington Redskins, the name of a team in the NFL, they had a huge issue over the name of their team back in 2014. You might remember the Washington Redskins had 6 of their federal trademarks revoked. That decision coming from the Trademark Trial and Appeal Board, it was later affirmed by a federal judge. Now you have a lot of people saying, well, if it's okay for the Slants, it is okay for the Washington Redskins. Attorney for the Redskins, Lisa Blatt, saying that they feel vindicated with this decision. Now there's a debate here, some people saying it is exactly the same, other people saying no, there is a difference. The Slants, they're reappropriating, whereas the Washington Redskins, we have a feeling Daniel Snyder's now reappropriating anything. But my personal viewpoint on it is that neither of these arguments even matter. If you look at Justice Alito's reasoning here, it has nothing to do with appropriation. He merely says, once again, public expression of ideas may not be prohibited merely because the ideas are themselves offensive to some of their hearers. And I want to know your opinion here. Do you think that there should be a line, or no, this is exactly what you want? Freedom of speech means freedom of speech. And then let's talk about Philando Castile. You may remember we first talked about this story back in 2016. And that's because July 6, 2016, Philando Castile was shot to death in his vehicle by a police officer. And that story blew up because his girlfriend, who was also in the vehicle, Diamond Reynolds, Facebook lived the aftermath. In that video, she talks about how the police killed her boyfriend. You see the police officer screaming. You also find out that there's a little girl in the car. She luckily was not hit. The people in general were outraged from this footage. And the reason we're talking about it today is in the past week, 2 big things have happened. The first update was around the Minnesota police officer Geronimo Yanez, who killed Philando. He was acquitted on 1 count of second-degree manslaughter and 2 counts of intentional discharge of firearm that endangers safety. And there was a lot of outrage around this, both online and in real life. Thousands of protesters gathered to march against this ruling. And as far as why Officer Yanez says that he shot Philando Castile, we just have to look to his testimony. In it, he says, "I didn't want to shoot Mr. Castile. That wasn't my intention. I thought I was going to die." Yanez saying that he also thought Castile fit the description of a robbery suspect. He then goes on to explain that he wasn't sure what Castile had in his hand, but he thought it was a gun. He said Castile reached his right hand towards his pocket in a C shape. He took that gesture as if he was wrapping his hand around the butt of a gun. Yanez saying, "I know he had an object and it was dark, and he was pulling it out with his right hand." And to that, many people said, well, maybe he was grabbing his wallet. C-shape. You had just asked him for his identification. Yanez also went on to testify why he thought Castile was a danger, saying he smelled marijuana coming from the car, and I thought if he has the guts and the audacity to smoke marijuana in front of the 5-year-old girl and risk her lungs and risk her life by giving her secondhand smoke and the front seat passenger doing the same thing, then what? What care does he give about me? I was scared and was in fear of my life and my partner's life, and for the little girl in the back and the front seat passenger. And to that testimony, many people who were wanting a conviction here saying, so you were worried about the little girl in the back, the passenger. This because you smelled marijuana, and then after Philando Castile let you know that he had a gun on him. And for most accounts, it seemed like he was grabbing for his wallet because you had just asked him for his ID. You shot the man into the car with all those other people 7 times. And the most recent update to the story is after the acquittal, the dash cam footage from this shooting has now been released. I feel like it's important we see what happened. Obviously, this footage is disturbing, but let's take a look.
Well, sir, Very good. Good. Reason I pulled you over, your brake lights are out. So you only have one active brake light, and that's going to be your passenger side one. Your third brake light, which is up here on top, and then this one back here is going to be out. You have your license and insurance?
I have to tell you, I do have a firearm on me.
Don't reach for it then. Don't pull it out.
I'm not pulling it out.
Don't pull it out.
From all accounts, it looks like a legal gun owner informed the officer that he had a weapon on him. He was trying to give the ID to the officer. The officer saw that as a hostile gesture. Philando Castile says, no, I'm not reaching for it. The officer shoots off 7 rounds and Castile is murdered. And I'm going to insert my opinion here. I don't know how he got away with it. It seems like the officer got spooked and an innocent man paid for it with his life. And as far as the verdict, the jury was made up of 8 men, 4 women, 10 white jurors, 2 black jurors. And according to one of the jurors earlier in the week, the jury was split 10-2. Then finally, the last few holdouts agreed to the acquittal. And as far as Officer Yanez's future, the St. Anthony Police Department announced that he will no longer be with the police force, saying the city of St. Anthony has concluded that the public will be best served if Officer Yanez is no longer a police officer in our city, but also that they're going to offer him a voluntary separation agreement to help him transition to another career. And I don't know how to end this story. Obviously, I'd love to know your thoughts on this story. Whether you agree or disagree with me, I'd love to know why. And that's it. It just, to me, it feels like someone's not being held accountable. I understand that police officers have an extremely hard job, and we get to look at the footage and we get to roll it back and zoom in and see it 20 times. But from everything we've seen, Philando Castile should be alive today. Been labeled a cop hater, a cop apologist in the past, depending on whatever story we're talking about. But I just run out of words for today. I'm disgusted. But like I said, let me know your thoughts here, and that is going to be the end of today's show. Kick to the outro where I have a lot more happy energy. And remember, if you liked this video, you like what I do on this channel, hit that like button. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you missed yesterday's Philip DeFranco show, you want to catch up, click or tap right there to watch that. If you want to see today's we're keeping it in. If you want to see today's brand new behind the scenes vlog, click or tap right there. But that said, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.